This is licensing has changed my life because it's allowed me to practice consciously how I want to live my life. And I should tell you that I'm called a master practitioner, and I'm really thrilled to have that title because it's very special. The Agape community just started designating certain individuals as master practitioners. And as always, I haven't been practicing for 20 years. That's one of the qualifications, but I just always tend to fall into an area where people want to be generous to me. So, so I have that designation, which is very sweet. Being a licensed practitioner has allowed me to develop my body of work that as I moved through my life and as I became licensed, my life changed. And instead of doing this, I ended up expanding. And so when we talk about sitting with the practitioner, we're talking about entering a space that is confidential, that is space. So I want you to that is safe. So I want you to remember that right now, that this space is safe. It's confidential. And we're going to move through. I'm going to talk about a few things before we actually begin the session. So I'm grateful. I always begin with gratitude because that's what we do. As practitioners, we have different ways that we anchor the space, and the technology allows us to begin to be grateful. One of the first principle in my 10 principles for a life worth living is begin each day in a spirit of gratitude. And the extended practice of that is gratitude 24/7. So we begin with gratitude. I'm grateful for all of you who have shown up. I'm grateful for the Guidely team. I'm grateful for Amir and for Shannon. And I'm grateful for Hannah, who's going to be assisting me in all of this. And so as we move through this, we're going to simply be in the rhythm and the flow of spirit. That's what I call it. I call it spirit. I call it the presence. So one of the differences with a practitioner session and any other therapeutic session that you may be in is that we pray in. And I want you to really go to your body temple. And as I say that word, if there's anything that comes up for you, because I said that purposefully. What I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to bless this time together. If there's anything that comes up, maybe you have some energy or some resistance around prayer. What is so powerful about all this is that we get to change the words that we use so that we can move forward. So I'm going to use the word blessing. I'd like you to close your eyes if you'd like to, and we're going to turn within and I'm going to bless this time together. And as I said before, we always begin with gratitude. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity to anchor the presence and the power, the life force that I call God. Whatever it is that you call it, we get to call it forth right now. The omnipresence, the only activity, the creator, the universal presence. We call it forth right now. It's always here. We consciously recognize it. This thing that we also call love and joy and peace and vitality and excellence. And this word stellar that came to me today as I was working with clients. We are, each and every one of us is uniquely one with this word stellar, with this word excellence, with this word joy, with this word, these high vibrations of infinite possibilities. So I bless this time together. I bless it. I'm grateful for it. I bless it knowing that something wonderful is happening. I'm not just doing it for each of you, I'm doing it for myself, because the opportunity for each of us as the one of us, we have an opportunity to grow, develop, and expand. And because we're infinite beings, we always are doing it. We simply get to choose it. So I'm grateful and thankful for this gathering, whether we are live or whether we are listening to the archive, the recording. I'm grateful and thankful that something transformational is happening just because we come together in this particular way. I'm grateful and thankful for this and so much more. And so it is. Amen. So as we open our eyes, I invite you to pay attention to your breath, that this is something that we get to be grateful for. We're always being breathed through. It's something we don't even have to think about. So as we begin to settle into this whole idea of what this is going to look like as we move through these 90 minutes, we get to begin with understanding that we have so much to be grateful for, that we woke up this morning, that we're breathing, that that we are with like-minded people. So I'm grateful and thankful for that. I want to begin here, and it's a definition of a practitioner. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to, I have so many things moving through my awareness. So let me read this, and it'll be clear. And this is from Michael Bernard Beckwith, who is the spiritual director and founder of the Agape community. And that community is we're in our 36th year. And because of the pandemic, we have exploded in terms of our people who are with us on Sundays and taking classes and seeing practitioners. So it's really very beautiful. This is what Reverend Michael says. He says that a practitioner is not merely a body of knowledge, but rather a state of consciousness that realizes oneness with the infinite, dedicated to first demonstrating new thought, ageless wisdom principles with their own life. A practitioner serves as a spiritual therapeutic agent of the spirit for the upliftment of every man, woman, and child. That's really very, very beautiful. So as we move through the studies, and we have 4 years of studies that we actually go through. We have 2 years of studies in New Thought, Ageless Wisdom, in Truth Principles. And then we have another 2 years, which we call the Professional Practitioner Studies, where we are taught, where we go deeper in our practice. We let go of things that no longer serve us, false beliefs. We work on forgiving individuals. We remember who we truly are. We're a loving agent of everyone. And then we then we get licensed. So that's 4 years of study. So we are licensed through Agape, and we are, after those studies, we have to take an oral exam, a written exam, and we actually have a session with a client and a practitioner where another practitioner observes us to make sure that we are qualified to sit with individuals and do what we do. So we are a service, a sacred service order dedicated to anchoring. I'm just hearing the words, we're anchoring heaven on earth. That's one of the things that Reverend Michael says, because heaven is not where we transition and then we go to another place. Heaven is right here. And when we move through all of the things that we do, when we become conscious, when we wake up more and more and more, and remember, this is a lifetime journey. Some of us are licensed, some of us are not licensed. And the most important thing is that we're practicing something. We're practicing something so that we can develop our gifts and talents and give those things to the world, which is really very wonderful. So I have a practice of prayer and meditation and life visioning. I have a practice of studying, of service, of tithing, of being at services on Sundays. I have a practice of the words that come out of my mouth and the things that I think about and say about other people. So as I was thinking about this today, I'm not a nun, but I do what I do. So so we sit with clients. We do this work for our own self, individually and collectively for the whole, which I think is very lovely. We sit with clients. It's one of the things that we do. We sit with clients and we see the clients as whole, perfect, and magnificent. We hold that space until they can do it for themselves, until they remember that they are whole, perfect, and magnificent. So it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be a part of. And this is also the way that regular therapy is different from the work that we do. We don't sit with someone and want to figure out what their mother or their father did to them. Because when we're talking about transformation, we're talking about an inside job. And this is something that only we can do for ourselves. And I'm here as a testimony of the importance of the work that I've done for myself. And as I've moved through all of this, it has been so wonderful for me, and I want to share it with others. And but that's not my job. My job is to focus on how I get to grow, develop, and unfold. And that's really very, very wonderful. So I want to share a couple of things with you. So this practitioner session is usually an hour long. And because we have this technology of Zoom now, I've moved all of my clients to Zoom. I think this is so fabulous. And in the beginning, I was going to say in the beginning, I had some resistance, but 3 years ago, I decided that I wanted to see clients all over the world. So I actually started with somebody on the East Coast who could not come to see me. And I was able to anchor Zoom practitioner sessions. And so when the pandemic hit and I needed to do this with clients, I was already ready. There's some practitioners who don't like this because it doesn't feel as intimate. I think it feels pretty intimate. I really do. So an hour long, and there's some practitioners who do sessions by phone, or they do it, they're beginning to do the sessions in person again. So here's the question I have. Do I have a volunteer? Somebody who would like to, because I'm going to move into a couple of other things. And Lindley, can I have you jump in here and you can be?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. And Hannah, if you will pin me and Lindley, that'll be great. And I just want to move through a couple of things, and they're going to allow us all to be in agreement with what we're doing. I would normally have a client come in, greet, because we have all this training that we go through, right? So you come in, you greet them. If they're in person, you give them some water, you ask them how they're doing. So Lindley, know that that's my intention, okay? And we call it rapport, right? We call it rapport. And one of the things that we do, Lindley, have you ever sat with a practitioner before? Have you ever had any therapy?
Yes, I have a therapist whom I adore, and I see her every Saturday morning.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so let me share with you a couple of things, and I'm sharing it with everyone here. And the first thing is there are a couple of agreements. The first agreement is confidentiality. My agreement with the client is that I'm creating a sacred space, that everything that is talked about in the session stays in the session. have a practice that I don't even talk about. I don't even name my clients when I'm talking to somebody. I just don't do that because I don't think it's anybody's business. I don't want to violate the sacred agreement that we have. So the space is sacred. Now, this is the other piece of this. The client is going to be moving through the session, and the client makes an agreement that, as I have made an agreement with the client, I'm not going to talk about the session to anyone. I'm going to ask you not to even ask Lindley about the session unless she decides to talk about it at another time. So what that means, if you are on a call with her tomorrow and you will not ask her what the session was like. How was that? If she decides to say, I had this session, would you like to talk to me about it? That's how it's initiated. We want, because it's just that sacred and in order. Okay. So that's the agreement that we're making. Now, I am required to report to the head of my practitioner core if there is anything said in the session that feels as if the client is going to harm his or herself or someone else. Other than that, and there's some practitioners who may not even report that. And I've never had a case where I've needed to report a client that way. Most of the time, the client just needs to talk to somebody. That's it. Sometimes it's just that simple. So the other agreement is that this is a safe space. There's no judging here. There's no judging here. There's no shaming and blaming and shoulda, woulda, couldas, none of that stuff. I'm simply holding a space of unconditional love. I did some prayer work before I entered this space. I'll take us through the protocols for the session. And then when we leave the space, I will pray us out. So there are different things that we do. I'm reminding you that this is all an inside job. And because you've done some work, it's going to be interesting for you to I was going to say compare and contrast. That's one of the things that we don't do. We don't compare and contrast. This is a space where you have an experience. And you will get some information as well as we all will get some information because of this. Now, let's move through the protocol for the session. I'm going to ask you to set an intention for the session. And an intention is the direction that you'd like the session to move in. And just to give you an example, I've had a couple of clients lately who want clarity. So the intention that they've set is for clarity. There are clients that come who want a loving relationship with a partner, or they want to experience more abundance, or they want to remember how powerful and wise they are. And they want to move forward. They want to find their voice. So there are different things like that. Okay. And so I will, not now, but I'll ask you for an intention that I'll pray us in. And I will begin with a question. After I will ask you a question. Now, one of the things that I haven't said is that because I have a deep practice of prayer and meditation, I'm really guided and directed by the still small voice. So I'm listening to this presence, and at the same time, I'm holding the field for you and listening to what you're saying, and I'm praying. Okay, so that's the way this field is. So I will, in intention, pray in. I'll ask you a question, whatever the question is that's birthing itself. And then in between everything, I'm going to be listening to you. And there will be an opportunity for some teaching that comes through, whatever that teaching is. The teaching could be around the use of affirmations or forgiving or whatever comes up. And then one of the things that I love to do is that I love to give homework. And homework means practice. It makes all the sense in the world that we have a session and we have an opportunity to transmute something. I'll give you a tool, the homework to practice, and then you leave the session, you leave the session, and I see clients every other week. That next week, the client will practice and then they'll come back to me, because the idea is for us to see practitioners periodically, because we're doing this work, we're moving forward. And and we begin to listen to our own inner guidance system. Okay, and then after that, we pray out.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to do my view so I can see. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. Would you pin us? Are we pinned, Hannah?
So you are on my end. Let me do a little rearranging here. I'm going to remove the pins and see if I can just redo it, if it will work that way. Pin Lindley, did that change anything for anyone?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, then we'll do it this way. Lindley, I'm going to be probably looking down at you because that's where you are on my screen.
Fine.
Okay. Great. Okay, so let's take a breath and release. And Lindley, as you're opening your eyes right now, I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to thank you for volunteering. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you showing up in this capacity. And I'm really understanding that this is for you. This is for you. There's something here for you that you will be able to use in some fashion. Now, is there a word that you use as you refer to your higher self?
I don't think so.
Okay, do you have any, I use God. Do you have any aversion to that?
No. I'm sorry. My higher self, not so much.
Yes.
I mean, I believe in God and
Okay, great. Yeah, so higher self, capital H, capital S. Yes, okay. Good. Okay, what is your intention for the session?
My intention for the session and in general is to improve my relationship with my mother.
Beautiful.
We tend to butt heads a lot, and as she is getting older, it is causing more and more hurt feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that as she is, embarking upon the twilight of her life. So my intention, and I am working towards improving that relationship.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pray us in. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and settle into this now moment where there is life. And I'm grateful to know that. I'm grateful to recognize this now moment. We're not in the past or in the future. We're right here and right now where there is life. And I think Eckhart Tolle said something like that. This is the only place where there is life, with a capital L. And life is another word for this presence. It's another word for God. We also can call it the infinite invisible. We can call it the life force, whatever it is that we call it. How wonderful it is to recognize it in this now moment, So I recognize it, this omnipresence, this power, this strength, this vitality, this unconditional love. I recognize it, knowing that Karen and Lindley are one with this presence and this power. We are one with it all the time. It is changeless, absolute, always happening. So I bless this time together. As we get out of the way and we allow the still small voice to guide and direct this session, something beautiful is happening. The intention is set. There's a new way of being with Lindley as she is moving through life with her mother. Something wonderful is happening. And we get to see exactly what it is, the practices that allow the birthing of this new relationship. An intention is set and we allow it to be. I'm grateful and thankful for this and so much more. And so it is. Amen. Okay. So I heard you say what you don't want with your mother. You use those words. What is it that you do want with her?
Acceptance, but yet, but beyond acceptance, but I don't know what the noun form of this is, but embracing, like I tend to take everything she says personally.
Mm-hmm.
She does not mean it that way. I know that logically,
Yes.
but I still take everything personally. And I feel like I'm never enough. I'm never, like, nothing I do is ever good enough. And so a lot of what I want is I want to feel, not that I want her to give me, because I believe she gives me unconditional love. I struggle to recognize it and accept it as unconditional love.
Yes.
So not feeling judged, not feel all of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Is there a relationship that you have in your life that looks like that? That you're enough, that you're not being judged?
Ironically, it's my in-laws, my husband's parents. I know that I could walk into their house and say just about anything, and they would embrace me and they would say, we will work on it together. We will figure out, we will solve this problem together. I've never felt that. And a lot of it has to do with weight and outward appearance, that I feel a lot of judgment from my mother, and I do not feel it from my in-laws.
I don't understand that. A weight and outward appearance?
Like weight. My own weight.
Your own weight. Okay.
Yeah. So that, I've had a weight problem my entire life, since I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been, my mom she feels like she's encouraging me, good job, you went for a walk. And it feels patronizing to me.
Yes. Yes.
Whereas I never feel that way. I feel like my in-laws are genuine when they, when they interact with me, I don't know. I feel guilt. I carry a lot of guilt around that when I'm like, I feel like my in-laws love me more than my mother does, which I know is not true.
Yes.
But again, it feels like, I feel like I have to put on makeup to go see my mother, or she's going to be like, why aren't you wearing makeup? Mm-hmm. Whereas, I can walk into my in-laws' house like this after having gone, for a walk, and it's not even that they don't say anything. They wouldn't ever think it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even on their radar to judge. Mm-hmm. I do have a little bird on my shoulder in my father who says, your mother has always been this way. They divorced when I was 5, that they get along. Mm-hmm. They are civil. They have a lot of mutual friends and everything, but he will say, your mother has no empathy. She cannot empathize with anyone. So I also have this other voice going, it's not you, it's your mother.
Mhm.
When I know that a lot of it is me, and a lot of what I struggle with she brings voice to my insecurities.
Yes, 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 yes. So what if you were to make a different choice? What if you were to, because you have an example of what it feels like to have support, to have individuals who love you just because you showed up in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love you. If I were to say to you that there's an opportunity for you to remember who you truly are by saying words of support and encouragement to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, because I love this question I always ask, what are you saying to yourself about yourself? What words are you using? I want you to begin to, I want you all, even right now, to think back on those few sentences that you've already used. And I want you to pull out some words that you are using that does not take you higher, that validates the insecurity, not being enough, all of those things. Can you think of a couple of words?
I can't think of like exactly what I said, but
Yeah.
in the word should is the one that comes up over and over, because I say it to myself, I should be more patient. I should be. And yet that is the word that she says to me that just flies all over me. Like, it drives me crazy. Well,
Yes.
you should. And she even, like, I remember a time when she recognized it. She started saying, you should. And then she stopped and she said, I need to stop using that word. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
There you go.
Like, yes, but yet
Yes.
I do it to myself.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
So
Yes,
that's powerful information for you, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's
Oh yeah.
powerful information. If you were to eliminate the word should, what could you replace it with?
Could.
Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. No.
You're not gonna let that one fly, huh, Karen?
No, no. So we have these words, I am.
Mhm.
The words I am allow us to move forward in our life. I am and I have. I am. Give me a couple of words that describe you. I am.
I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, because remember what you're doing right now is that you're gonna have to reprogram your heart. You've been telling yourself you're not good enough. You've been telling yourself that you take things personally. I have the 4 agreements up here. Okay.
Yes.
But yes, you've been telling yourself that you struggle. So guess what happens?
Self-fulfilling prophecy. It happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I want you to begin. This is your first homework assignment. I want you to take the word I am, and then I want you to put one word next to it and create a few affirmations for yourself. So let's do that. I am, describe yourself. If you can't feel into it right now, then I want you to set an intention that this is a new way of being for you. I am, what's the word?
Well, the first one I wrote down was enough.
Yes, yes.
And the second that I'm writing literally is that I'm a good daughter.
Yes, yes, yes. That's beautiful. Do you believe it?
I believe that I am a good daughter. I believe I always have opportunities in which I can grow.
Yes, 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 yes.
I am not a bad daughter.
Yes. And remember, there are words that we get that no longer serve us. So this whole I'm I'm not remembering the word now. So there's no good and bad. When we talk about a higher self, there's only good. So what is it that you get to allow yourself? How do you get to show up so that you are showing up as a good daughter? What does that look like? What does that look like?
Making the effort,
Yes.
you know, and finding opportunities and sort of reframing when, you know, when she calls or when she suggests that we come up. She lives about an hour and a half away. When she suggests that we come up to visit her, you know, or she wants to come down here, reframing it as an opportunity, not as a burden.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I catch myself doing that, and I'm going, this is not a bad thing. But one of the things that I have been really thinking about and praying about doing is being more intentional and planning things with just me and her.
Yes.
Activities that we can do. Because I think part of the problem is she'll come down here and we're like, it's a Saturday. We're doing our own thing. We're not doing. She's very much a doer. She's always moving, and we are not.
Yes.
And so, like, I asked her yesterday if she would like to come down this weekend, and our local museum is doing a glass flower making.
Beautiful.
So we can make like actually like bending hot glass and stuff, which is really cool. But looking for other opportunities for us to go and do stuff with a goal and with a purpose, you know, as opposed to just visiting.
Yes.
That seems to create this sort of unclear. I tend to be very goal oriented. So I'm like, what are we going to do? If we're not going to do anything, then why am I going up there? You know?
Yes. Do you hear what you're creating? You're creating a container, a loving container where you get to hold your mother. And you're holding yourself at the same time. When you are creating this space that says, I am enough, I am love, I am intentionally creating joy for my mother. And when you're creating it for your mother, you're also creating it for yourself.
Right.
This is a powerful practice. So that's your second assignment, to follow through. Now, let me move to your father, okay? So I want you to repeat what you said about your mother to your father.
He has told me from the time I was young that my mother has no empathy.
Yes. And what has happened with that? Excuse me. What has happened with that? I look for confirmation of that, not for refutation of that. Yes.
So I've got confirmation bias all over the place.
So will you create another word and be in agreement with a higher way of being? So part of all of this is that when we say things to ourselves and we say things about other people. And when we're saying things about other people, we're talking about ourselves. Because remember, in that prayer, I unified us. We are unified with the one. So I want you to begin practicing not being in agreement with anybody, even having conversations with anybody that is a lie. Because we're talking about your mother's higher self. We're also talking about your father's higher self. Continuing that lie for all of these years, you are creating this field for your mother, as you've just said, where there's an expectation that she's not going to be empathetic.
Right.
Okay. So here's another way to simply be. Now, what's coming up for you right now as you're writing, as I'm talking, as you are thinking about some things? What's coming up for you?
You know, I've always thought of my of my dad as like he and I, we are very similar in a lot of ways. And I think I have, shh, hush, hush. Shh. Sorry, my husband's probably home.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, he is. We have a very good watchdog.
Oh.
But one of the things that I've caught myself doing is sort of pitting me and him against
Yes.
her and recognizing that a lot of the problems that they may have had in their marriage, and honestly, I don't know, I was so young, like I don't really remember much about it, but that kind of taking a lot of that, hey sweetheart, about of all, like those problems and sort of overlaying them onto my relationship with her unfairly.
Yes.
Without and in a way that has, I think, helped me and my dad be closer because we both kind of, it's kind of the us against her, which is, he's never, I can guarantee you he's never even considered that he does that. Like it's not conscious at all.
Right.
But I don't want to say I guarantee, but I am aware that strife may have kind of overlaid itself, and I've allowed it to do that because it served me and brought me closer to my dad. Whereas, and because he confirmed all the things that I was suspicious of, as opposed to letting me go and form my own sort of opinions, and base it on my own experiences and not his.
So, and this is why we say when we lift ourselves up, we lift everyone around us up. As you stop participating in this toxic dialogue with your father, he's not going to, you and he won't be able to talk about your mother in that way. And I know that that's something that you both want. He may not be aware of it yet, and he wants it. He does, because this is about, I talked about not comparing and contrasting. Doesn't serve anybody. We're here to love. We're here to love. And I can feel the love through you. I can feel that this is who you are. And now this is all about making a few changes. So you have those affirmations. I am enough. What was the second one?
I am a good daughter. I
am a good daughter. I am a good daughter. So you're going to set some intentions relative to what that looks like. Now, I have this podcast, and we did this series, this show on listening and talking. And somebody said we have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to close it. I don't know, but you've heard that.
Right.
I want you to practice listening more. Okay. Especially where your mother is concerned. Listen to her. Listen to her. Because remember, you're the one who is transforming right now. This is all for you. And I don't know if you believe in afterlives, an afterlife. I believe that when we return, that we return with stuff that we didn't complete in the life that we just had. Right now, because you are waking up, because you are surrounded with like-minded people in this godly community, you have an opportunity to get some of that stuff as much as possible off your plate. And this becomes a beginning. This becomes a beginning. So here, that's your assignment for your mother and your father. Now, and this is also something that you get to share with your therapist, letting your therapist know some new agreements from this point forward. Okay. Are there any other relationships that you have? Well, let's go this way. Is there any unforgiveness within yourself in your relationship with your mother that you want to begin working on? Other than what we've talked about.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is there any, I mean, I think there's probably, I need to forgive myself for a lot of the things that I have said, the things that I have thought.
Wow. Yeah.
The things that have come out in nonverbal communications and, and stuff like that. I think there's probably also, on some level,
Mhm.
I think, and I don't consciously remember ever like deciding this,
Mhm.
but I think for a long time I blamed my mom for my parents' divorce, even though my dad was the one who was unfaithful,
Mhm.
you
Okay.
know? And so I think there's a lot of forgiveness I need to do there for something that was, I mean, obviously 2 people in every relationship. I mean, I get that,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
think there's a lot that I probably put on her because I lived with her,
Mhm.
she was the primary custodial parent. She had to put up a lot of my crap,
Yeah.
and he was the fun weekend dad who, I got to eat Starburst and watch rated R movies with, I mean, it was that kind of,
Right.
and so I think he avoided a lot of the responsibility in my eyes that,
Mhm.
and I didn't, as a child, I wasn't able to kind of balance it and really understand what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I recognize what all
Mhm.
went on.
Mhm.
I know more about it. I recognize that, yes, they were not compatible. They probably should have never married.
Mhm.
I'm glad they did, but
Yeah, because if they only married to birth you, then that's
right.
the reason, right? Yeah.
And yeah, and that's great, and I'm really appreciate that. But I do think, from a forgiveness perspective, I think there are, and I remember, I don't remember much from being young, but I remember sitting in our living room at that house with our god awful bright red shag carpeting. It was the early
Oh.
80s after all. And I remember them telling me they were getting divorced, and my dad cried and she didn't. And I think that's where I assumed that meant she didn't care, that she, that she was somehow, I equated that with her being at fault, or it being her decision,
Yeah.
and again, logically, I know that that's not true,
Mhm.
but I do think that there's still a good bit of forgiveness that I need to do, for her, that I need to give to her,
Yes.
and to, and to him, because he screwed up,
Mhm.
and,
So,
so
I'm gonna have you do this, okay? I'm gonna have you close your eyes, and I want you to go back to that house with that red shag carpet. I've never seen it before.
my God, it was awful. I guess it could have been that like avocado green or whatever. This was
Or an orange, right? Yeah.
yes, just
So
bright red.
so I want you to close your, how old are you?
5.
You're 5. Okay. And what are you wearing?
Mm, probably shorts and a t-shirt.
Okay. And your mother and your father are there.
They're both there sitting on the couch.
Yes. And it's just you, no other siblings around?
Just me.
Okay. Okay. So I want you to feel the emotions that um, are coming up within you right now, as you are sitting in the middle of your parents, and your parents are telling you that they are divorcing, that the house is, I'll use my words, the house is being broken up. and that you will no longer be a family, that somebody is leaving. Is your father leaving?
Mhm.
Okay. What kind of emotions are coming up for you right now?
I remember being sad and confused,
Mhm.
and I feel like there is anger there,
Okay.
and some blame, because I wanted to blame somebody. It has to be somebody's fault. I don't think I ever blamed myself. I know a lot of kids do. I
Yeah.
don't think I
Yeah.
ever felt that way.
Mhm.
Um, but and I think I've felt that anger towards my mom because she did not seem upset. I know now she was, of course, very upset, but
Yes. Yes.
she was trying to, trying to not fall apart for me, and yet I interpreted that as her not caring or
Yes.
not being sad. Um,
What would that 5-year-old tell her mother right now? What would you say to her? Not right now. In that moment. In that moment, you're seeing that your mother is not. It seems like she's not showing any emotions. It seems like she's not upset. What would the 5-year-old say to the mother?
Probably something along the lines of, daddy's leaving and you don't care. You're
Mhm.
not upset, you're not crying, then you must not care. Something like that.
Yes. Um, Now, even as you're saying that, I'm not hearing or feeling any emotion coming from you. Is that the case?
Not totally, but I don't I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm so far removed from it that
Mhm.
I don't I don't really feel. I mean, I've told both of my parents, and I've told a lot of people, the best thing they ever did for me was to divorce, because I would have grown up in a home of, that was not happy.
Yeah.
And I always appreciated that they did that, as, yeah, it made it harder in some regards, but, you know, they, they never, they never made me choose. They never put me in the middle. They never, it was they were always focused on me and what was best for me, and not like like a lot of other people focused on themselves. And I'm grateful that they divorced, because I can't really imagine what it would have been like if they had continued to stay married. And then I grew up in a home full of anger and
Yes.
fighting and stuff, and
Yes. Yes.
so
I hear you. Okay. Open your eyes, and I there's something deeper to be explored here, I
Mhm,
think. And I want you to do that with your therapist. Okay.
mhm.
There is something, and it might be around um, because what's happening is that you have been projecting your some anger onto your mother. Is that true?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's a reason for that. There's something deep within you. And it may be just on the surface. It may be after you have established some intentions with your mother, and you've decided you're going to treat her a certain way. Maybe that's what needs to happen. And it's not as deep as it feels. Usually when I do this with someone, they burst in tears.
Sorry. Maybe I wasn't a very good guinea pig.
No, 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 no. You're excellent. And I do appreciate this. I do. Because it's given me some information. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, and I will say I don't tend to be, I've been on anti-anxiety and antidepressants for a long time, and I tend to be very level in terms of my emotions. I don't cry a lot.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
very seldom do I I can't remember the last time I cried.
Have you,
My
so
stepmother died. That was the last one, you know?
what's your intention with your medication?
Um, to get through the day and feel like I have things under control.
Okay, so the part of the work that we do is that, and I'm not a doctor, you have been prescribed some medication for a reason. I want you to think about the possibility of being able to feel your emotions that are coming up. And because I think it's important. It's important that we feel. It's so easy to medicate so that we don't feel the deep pain that is there. So that's the issue right there. It's right there. Okay.
And that is something that I have thought about just from reading other Glennon Doyle is the one, Glennon Melton is the one who pops into my head, where she talks about she medicated herself to a point where she couldn't feel anything. And
Yes.
and that is something that I have thought a lot about. And yes, I need to stay even, but at the same time, I need a little bit of fluctuation,
Yes,
to be able to feel.
And one of the ways that we stay, I want to language this. As human beings, we're meant to feel. Stuff comes up, and we get to move to higher grounds because we have been able to establish something within us that has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered. We get to go there, to that place. We have all this stuff that is piled on us as human beings. From the time I was having a conversation with somebody today about all the layers that are put on us as kids. We're meant to fear. We're meant to be afraid, to be scared, to be unwilling to do different things. And when we have an availability to work through that pain, the darkness, that's when we become free. That's when we get to step away from, that's when we get to forgive in areas that perhaps we are unavailable to forgive because the pain is so deep. So I'm going to invite you to explore the possibility with your therapist of going into areas that perhaps you've stayed on the surface with because it's painful, because it's too painful. Okay. What's coming up for you right now? How are you feeling?
Sorry, I'm taking notes. Good, fine.
Good. Do you have a practice of meditation or anything like that?
It's honestly, it's one of those things that I go, I'm like, I really need to do that. I really need to do that. But I think I don't know how.
Okay. So we have breath work and meditation people in Guidely, right?
Yes, we do.
So you're going to sign up for one of those. You're going to have a session with one of those guides so that you can learn how to meditate. You're going to learn how to breathe. This is part of the freeing that gets to happen. When you're able to walk this earth plane without attachments, you get to take off your training wheels. This is where your freedom comes, really.
Yeah.
Really. And boy, you're in a great place. I mean, you really are in a great place amongst all of this. It's really very, very powerful. So this is where I'd like you to begin with meditation. I want you to be still for 3 minutes. And you're just going to breathe.
Okay.
A lot of times, because I was this way, maybe 10 or 11 years ago, I did not want to, I had the radio going, I had the television going, I had a lot of noise. because I didn't want to deal with the pain I was dealing with. I wasn't on medication, but I was being medicated by the radio and by television. When I stopped, when I turned those things off, and and I went cold turkey, I began to be still. And it's just, I'm telling you, for 3 minutes, and you're just going to pay attention to your breath for right now. Okay, now I tell clients that if there are clients who say they don't have time to meditate, if you are going to the bathroom, you can meditate right there for 3 minutes. Okay, so there aren't any excuses. And meditation allows you to be more intuitive. It allows you to, because you're in this community, you are rising up. You are allowing your real self to emerge. So that's your third or fourth homework assignment. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the meditation, the willingness to stop and to be still, that's going to open you up. And at Agape, we talk about being cracked wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be painful. It can be painful. And all of us go through it. And just because we have years of study in back of us does not mean that the pain doesn't rise up deeply, because we're always discovering more and more and more stuff about ourselves. Mm-hmm. I recently had a godfather who passed. And I was telling Hannah that one of the things that I'm doing in my backyard is I'm scrubbing my bricks because this water pressure device didn't work. And this is how the universe is always for us. As I was scrubbing those bricks, guess what I got to do? I was processing the transition of my godfather. It took me, and I have chills all over my body. It took me to a time when I was 10 years old, So there are things that come up that are for us, and those things will come up when we're ready to move through them, when we're ready to transmute them. You're on this journey to wake up, and that's what's happening for you right now. That's why you got to show up at this particular time and volunteer. So I'm going to ask you to, because we're just going to spend a couple more minutes with this, with you. I'm going to ask you to really begin to set some intentions for your life, to use the affirmations, to remind yourself moment to moment how wonderful you are, how joy-filled you are, how unique you are. We don't use the word special, we use the word unique. How unique you are, how valuable you are, not just to yourself, but to your husband, to your family, to your mother. Your mother, you're not doing this for her, you're doing it for yourself, but your mother will see something different within you. And when she finally says some words to you that really lift you up, it won't matter anymore, because you have begun to lift your own self up. Okay? So the practice, I am enough. Something comes towards you, you get to feel the emotion that's coming up. That might be something that you take to your therapist, and then you get to remind yourself that you are enough. The idea that you get to, someone says something to you that you know that is not the truth, you don't argue with them. You simply close your mouth and listen from your heart, telling yourself, I am enough. I am a powerful, magnificent, beautiful being. So instead of wanting to be validated by individuals who cannot do that for us, we turn within, and we have these practices in place that allow us to remember who we truly are. This is our birthright. Okay? Okay. Anything else that's coming up for you right now?
No, not really. It's I'm smiling because my mentor has given us an opportunity to do 100 days of accountability, and we pick our tasks, we pick our intention, and she
Beautiful.
used the word intention.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, and we start today, and I'm going, oh,
Oh,
great.
oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So let me give you one more thing around intention. When you, and this is from Reverend Arlene, who has a really powerful practice around intentions. And she spoke at Agape a couple of Sundays ago. She actually wakes up in the morning, and every single morning, there's a new intention for herself. So her intention may be, I'm going to be more loving today.
Mhm.
So she spends that whole day being more loving. She's consciously aware that this is what she has agreed to. And guess what happens? There will be people that come into her awareness that allow her to be more loving, because
Right.
maybe they're in her face. Maybe they're saying some unkind words to her, something like that. So I want you to, so that can be part of the intention setting. And then at the end of the day, because remember, as you are closing your eyes at night, you want to have a practice in place. And the practice with the intention setting could be, how did that work? Was I more loving today? Do I want to practice some more tomorrow? Do I want to extend this in a week's time, 4 weeks' time? And this is not with any criticism or anything like that. You're just looking at it. How did that turn out?
Mhm.
And there can be an opportunity to expand it more and more and more. So you have an intention of being loving. Guess what happens? You're walking this earth plane being loving, not even aware of it. It's just the way that you are. It's just the way that you are. So no matter what happens, you are carrying this prayer field of unconditional loving, not conditional loving, unconditional loving. Okay. So when your mother comes to you and you have set an intention, what happens?
I reflect that without even trying.
Yeah. You are that. You're
I
being
am that,
that.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. And whether she recognizes it or not, it doesn't matter. It's something that somebody's recognizing it as you're walking. Somebody feels the vibration that you're walking in, which is really wonderful. And you know what? I'm just hearing this. It's somebody needed that to walk in your prayer field. Somebody needed that. Okay. So that's why we say we do this work individually and collectively.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to pray us out, and then we'll almost be complete. So we turn within and we close our eyes, and I'm being reminded that when we have smiles on our faces, it's the evidence of God. It's the evidence that joy is activated as God individually and collectively. So how wonderful it is to smile, to be this light. And one of the intentions is, even when we don't feel like it, we get to move through the emotions that come up and allow our radiance to shine, because we have so much to be grateful for. We live in a country where we are not experiencing bombings. We're living in a country where we have water and we have food. We're living in a country where there may be some other things going on. And we get to be grateful to know that we get to gather like this without any restrictions. So as I'm thinking about this, I'm grateful for Guidely. I'm grateful for Amir and Shannon for creating this beautiful community where we get to come together and remember who we truly are. I'm grateful and thankful for each and every one of us on this call, knowing that there's always an opportunity to grow, develop, and to unfold and to get the information so that we can be more of our real self. So it is from this place of gratitude that I recognize the one power, the one presence that I call God, the only thing that is always happening. There is no duality. There's only the magnificence of this life force, the magnificence of unconditional love, the magnificence of excellence, of abundance, of wholeness, of perfection. So it is from this place that I know that Lindley is one with this presence and this power all the time. And I'm going to include her mother in this prayer and her father in this prayer. That just because Lindley has shown up in this way, that there is a rising up of awareness. Her mother and father may not even know what's going on, but perhaps they are feeling more awake, alive, and aware. I'm blessing Lindley as she has set an intention to be more and never less. I'm blessing her and giving thanks for her as she continues on her path of freedom, being free to do, be, and have what she came here to do, to take all the stuff off the plate that no longer serves her, to empty out her body temple so that she can feel and be free to let go, to be free and to feel everything that may be unforgiven, that she needs to dive deep into, that she gets to. She doesn't need to, she gets to embrace the opportunity to rise up and to go into the depths of perhaps pain that she has not been willing to move through. I am affirming that something wonderful is happening, something good, grand, and glorious is happening just because Lindley has volunteered to be a client. I'm grateful and thankful for her vulnerability, for her willingness, for everything that she gets to move through as she thinks on these things, as she does her homework assignments. There's something called willingness that Lindley gets to give herself permission to unfold, a willingness to be more, a willingness to be enough, a willingness to be a good daughter, a willingness to be happy and contented within her own beingness, a willingness to fully express like never before, a willingness to be spiritually liberated, free from things on this earth plane that may tie her down, that may tie her hands. As she is venturing off in this godly community, she is discovering things that support her, that love her. The practice of intention setting, the practice of meditation, the practice of breath work, whatever it is, she's open and available to use different guides to move forward so that she is stellar in her life. So something magnificent is happening. I'm thankful to speak these words. I'm thankful for Lindley. I'm grateful for the opportunity to grow and expand into her greatest yet to be. Something wonderful is happening. And she is open and available to say yes to all of it, to say yes to all of it, no matter what may be coming up. I know that she's guided and directed by a still small voice, and she moves forward with such grace and such ease and such magnificence. It's all happening now. It is from this place of thanksgiving that I release this word unto the law. It's a word that is loving. It is a word that is prosperous. It is a word that is magnificent. It's all happening now. And so it is. Amen. So after I pray, I always like to take a breath to just anchor into the space. And you notice that I prayed, I unified your mother and father in the prayer, not all of us, because the prayer was for you. Okay. And that's it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know what to do next. Does anybody, you guys have any questions?
I just want to say thank you.
Yes, yes.
Deeply thankful for Lily for having the courage
Yes,
to take the hot seat and the
yes.
opportunity, and Karen, to see you doing your magic. It was powerful and beautiful
Thank
and
you.
so
Thank you.
thoughtful, and I can see the art and the science coming together.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
And
And I appreciate that. Reverend Michael says that everyone should have a practitioner. That's what I should have thought about saying. That's why I'm saying it now. Everyone should have a practitioner, like they have a dentist, a physician, what else do we have? An acupuncturist. It's simply a way of being. So thank you for being here, and we'll see what's next. Okay. Wonderful. Okay.
thank you.
My love to you. Thank you.
Well, thank
Anna,
you.
thank you. Blessings.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Hi, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.